Friends, welcome to the Elk Shape Gear channel. You guys all know Tyler Denham. He runs this thing. He is unbiased, unsponsored, and has a real job, as he likes to remind me. We're doing the final installment of this budget video series. This is the video for you because we've not only tested and vetted, but now Tyler's going to give you the real, sincere, honest review, what he liked, what he didn't like, what actually works well, what doesn't. And we are giving away some dope gear at the end of this video. Stick around. Someone's getting this puffy from the Tundra from Born Primitive, a couple of rain gear items, as well as some trekking poles that we talk about and tested in this gear. Guys, this is the channel dedicated to gear to help you make more informed decisions.
Well, first I wanted to talk about the reasons I picked the gear that I did. I didn't just go out on the internet and scour for the cheapest gear possible. I wanted this to be a list of things that I would potentially use if I were on a budget, and I wanted it to work well. And so I've got a lot of experience of looking at specs on the internet of different gear items and picking out things that will work well for me. And so that's kind of what I did, but with a budget in mind. Personally, I like using a lot of the higher end stuff, and I think if you have the budget to do so, that's great. But for those guys who are like, this is my first time going out west, I need gear that's gonna work, I need gear that's not gonna fail, I need gear that will keep me safe in the backcountry. This is the gear that I chose. And I chose it based on those parameters. So I didn't just go on Amazon and be like, what's the cheapest tent I can buy? What's the cheapest pair of pants I can get? I wanted them to be quality items, but with a budget in mind. So with that said, I know a lot of people on that first video, they commented that they got a $70 tent on Amazon, which you can do, and it probably worked fine, but it may not, and that wasn't what I was going for. So I picked out a tent that's about 200 bucks. It works if you have the money. I think that would be a spot where you could upgrade. The geometry of the tent isn't my favorite. It does work. I've used it now 3 nights in the backcountry. It works fine. There's just a few things that for me personally I wish were a little different in that. However, for 200 bucks, it's a dang good setup for one person. It's a little on the small side. I'll show you like pictures of what it looks like with all my gear in it. And it works good. It's just tight for one person, even though it's considered a 2-person tent.
So that's the Big Agnes what?
That's the Big Agnes C-Bar 2-person.
So I do like the footprint size for, like, if you, man, you don't always have a lot of options when you're in the backcountry of a flat spot. I feel like because it is pretty long and narrow, yeah, it kind of sucks inside, storing your gear. Double vestibule is but it is a nice slender profile where, like, I just know places where I've thrown tents in where, you know, that's about the only tent that would work. Whereas, like, even behind me here, I got a Peaks, you know, Solitude. That's a pretty big footprint. You got to kind of have to find the right real estate. So
for sure. And that's kind of when you're scouting. If I'm packing a big tent like the Solist or my 6-man teepee, I'm also scouting for flat spots that I can put it.
So let's do this. Like, what would you give what's your final rating 5 stars out of 5 stars for the Big Agnes?
I would give it 3.5 out of 5.
And what's keeping it from being 5 out of 5?
The double vestibules, the fact that when you unzip the zipper to get in and out of your tent, if it's raining and water's coming off of the rain fly, it'll drip right into the tent. That's the big thing that it's like, don't really like. We had it up here in the wind and it worked fine.
Okay. Total weight, you like the weight of it?
The weight's a little on the heavier side for a tent, but again,
But the price is really affordable.
the price is affordable, and that was the key that I was looking for on that, was
and there's
the price.
quality. It would last more than a season.
Absolutely.
That's important. All right. What else you got?
Like some of this gear that I picked, we've used in the past, and we know already works. One of the big things that's like a budget one that works really well was the trekking poles that we used, and I like they work so good that I was using them on this hunt too, just because I had them already packed up, and it wasn't worth it to switch out to something different. They work great.
Which one are these?
The campfire trekking poles.
So probably the best budget option is the campfire trekking pole.
Yep, I think so. They're aluminum. They don't have cork handles, but especially if you're hunting when it's a little bit cooler and it's not as hot, those handles will grip a little bit better in the cold weather than like with gloves on than maybe the cork ones do. I like the cork ones when it's hotter out because the sweat on your hands they don't get as greasy, slimy.
Yep. So your campfire trekking poles, 5-star review. What would you give those?
I would give them a 4.
4-star. And
4-star.
what's keeping them from being a 5?
Just the fact that they're not the cork handles, and for me, I just prefer the cork because I sweat a lot.
Okay.
And that's really the only thing that I prefer different. And then they are a little bit on the heavier side. They're an aluminum pole instead of a carbon. It's a little heavier, but it is more durable.
All right.
Some of the gear that turned out better than I thought it was going to was for sure all of the base layers from Black Ovis. The quality of the material that they use is the same as some of the high-end base layers from other high-end brands, but like half the cost. The thing that I don't like about the Black Ovis versus some of the higher end is the material's not as stretchy, so I think it's a little bit more durable, but it doesn't have the stretch. So like if you have long sleeves on and you want to pull them up, the Black Ovis ones don't go up very far, and they get stuck. Where like Born Primitive, I can pull the sleeve all the way up and it'll stretch around my arm, where the Black Ovis don't. Some of the Black Ovis ones don't have the thumb hole, so when you're putting like your insulating layer or a fleece over top of your base layer, your sleeves tend to roll up, so that having that thumb hole, you can slip it over, put your hand through. With the Black Ovis, you got to kind of like shove it up, grab it, and then put your hand through. That's one it's a little thing, but it does make a difference in the long run. But I think like if I wore a bunch of that stuff on this hunt too, and I have access to the higher end stuff, and like I said, it's phenomenal. I do really like, they sent the super thin hooded base layer. It's merino, which I love especially for backcountry, if I'm not going back to the car every day, where I can switch out hoodies and I'm gonna wear it for a few days.
Sure.
I way prefer to have those merino layers because they don't get as stinky near as fast. And so that layer is one that I'll keep using all the time throughout the summer. Super awesome. The other one was the crispy socks. I was super impressed with the quality for the cost. If you buy 3 pairs at the one time, it cuts them down to like $15 a piece or something like that.
Yeah, you get a little break.
So you get a little break. And so I think for the cost savings over some of the other ones, you're gonna wanna bring at least 3 pairs with you on any hunt you go on anyway. I'll bring a pair for every day I plan on hunting. If I'm at the car, I'll switch out socks every day. If I'm in the backcountry, I bring at least 2, and I'll either rotate or at least have one, like take my socks off that I wear during the day, kind of put them in my sleeping bag or put them somewhere that they can air out, and then wear a pair at night if my feet are getting cold, or just be able to swap every day.
Speaking of sleeping bags, last night you slept in the Peak Solace.
Yes.
And then you were tested, I believe I was there, I saw you testing the Kings.
I tested the Kings. That bag for the money, I think is going to be tough to beat. You're looking at less than $200 for that King sleeping bag. It is a synthetic. It's only rated at 20 degrees. So I think what that means basically is 20 degrees will keep you alive. Its comfort rating will be 10 to 15 degrees above that. So you're looking at around freezing. If you're looking at your weather report and the nights are going to be below freezing, I would add a liner to it, which you can pick those up super cheap, and it does bump the rating of the sleeping bag. I think it does help keep you warmer in those situations, and then you're just going to have to do some of the things that you need to do to stay warm while you're sleeping, which is, stay hydrated. You can heat water and put it in a Nalgene, stick that in your bag. Make sure you go to bed warm, have your base layers on. You might, if it's going to be super cold, you might either wear your puffy to bed or drape it over top of you in the sleeping bag, stuff like that just helps keep you warm at night.
Okay. What about hydration? Did you cover any of the cook stuff or water filtration that you wanted to touch on?
So the water filtration, this HydroPack water filter I really like. I like the fact that the filter is inside the bag instead of sticking up on top of it.
So you can pop that off, if boil water that's
dirty,
or leave it on and drink straight from it and it filters the water. Yep. That's legit. That's genius.
And it comes in the 3 liter. This is the Seeker 3 liter bag, which is perfect for me because I'll have that bag full plus a Nalgene, or I use a GSI stainless steel water bottle.
Yeah.
And between the two of those, I have 4 liters of water, and that's about what I need for a day of hunting.
Yep.
Oh, the campfire headlamps, they're for the price, they're hard to beat. Or the only thing that it doesn't have that I wish it has was the lock feature that you could lock it off.
Oh yeah. I only know of the Peaks Duo.
The Peaks Duo
that had that lock.
Most Black Diamond ones. So the other one we looked at was the Black Diamond. I think it's a Cosmo, and it also has a lock feature. That one's a little bit smaller profile, a little bit lighter. You have to buy if you want the rechargeable battery, you have to buy that separate.
Yep.
But it is an option. Otherwise, I do like that one. For those reasons, I do like it a little bit better than the campfire, but it's a little bit more expensive. And like for the price of 2 campfire ones, you can only get 1 of the Black Diamonds. I don't think it's quite as bright, doesn't last as long, but it's because it's a smaller profile.
It'll get you by, and you'll have a backup, which I like. So get 2.
I've been using that one as my backup.
Okay.
In my kit.
What stove did you run?
So for this, a single person, the Pocket Rocket mini stove kit, it comes with everything you need. It comes with the mini pot similar to this one, a cup, your stove. You can fit one of the small canisters inside the pot. Everything goes in there, and it's this nice little package, and it works really well. It's not as fancy as the Deluxe. The Deluxe kit's a little bit bigger, so if you're going with 2 guys and you wanted to cut weight and share a stove, I would go with the Deluxe. But for a single person, it cuts down on the weight, cuts down on the footprint in your pack. I even use that, like a lot of times I'll use that one if I'm going out for day hunts. I always like to bring a stove, and that's like super tiny little package that I can stick in
coffee.
Absolutely.
Now, what about sleeping pads? What did you settle in on, or which pad did you use last night?
So I used the Nemo Astro, I believe it is.
Okay. That's a good price point.
It's a very good price point. I think I got a tiny air leak in it already, and I've only used it a couple of times, which is a bummer.
Got your ass.
So it's fine. It still holds air throughout the night. Whatever hole it is, it's just like in the morning I wake up and I'm like, hey, parts of my body are hitting the ground. It's a little cold. Whereas the Climate I've used for 2 years and is still going strong.
Did you use a pillow?
No, I did. I didn't include a pillow in the budget kit, because if you are on a budget and you're trying to scrimp by on a budget, I for many years would just shove my puffy into a stuff sack and use that.
Okay.
So it's a luxury, not a necessity. If you have the extra money, highly recommend a pillow, but it's not a
what
make or break.
What boots did you run this week? I know you didn't cover backpacking boots, but just what did you use in case people are wondering?
I am running the Crispy Keen Ice. I also ran the Valtrez Chews. The Valtrez Chews didn't hug my ankle as well, and they're brand new, so they need a little bit of more break-in period before I'm gonna love them.
And then which pack are you running?
I'm running the Kifaru Duplex Light with a Bedlam pack, and I have the Nalgene bottle holder, I think it's a medium belt pouch, and then the guide lid.
Okay. What's left to review?
One of the other items I was super impressed with that's on the gear list is the rangefinder. It was the Crossfire 1400, and I was playing with them head to head just out of my truck, ranging items across I had a big open area, and that 1400 performed better than I anticipated, especially if you're an archer. You don't need the higher end rangefinders. It will work. I found that it would hit things out to about 1,000 yards, and then it kind of petered off.
Yeah.
But within that 1,000 yards, it was right with the Razor 4000. So I think that one is, if you need to save some money, that's a good option to save some money, still have a quality rangefinder. And that one is about the same price as the old one I was running, and it's by far better quality. A couple people mentioned on the previous video or first budget video, that this gear list isn't budget, which budget's relative, right?
Yeah.
Depending if you're like, oh, I can't afford this gear list, that's fine. You're going to be looking at like military surplus stuff. You're going to be looking at a lot heavier gear. You're going to have to be tougher than the average guy, because the gear that you get is not going to perform to the level of the gear that I'm giving you here in this list. So that's fine. And I mean, I've been there before. I've started out hunting with military surplus gear, from pants to jackets to rain gear. I even have one of the military surplus bivy sacks that's super tough, but it's heavy. Mm-hmm. And it works, but you're just gonna have to, your pack's gonna be a little heavier, your gear is gonna be a little heavier, it is gonna be pretty tough, but it is what it is. So you're just gonna have to understand that going into it, that it's not going to be quite what you're hoping for.
Yeah.
The other thing, if you are on a budget, you can always look in your closet and see if you have anything that would work for an item that's on the list. For example, if you play in the woods at all or play outside at all, you probably have some thermal underwear. You probably have a base layer that would probably work. You probably have a stocking cap that will work. You probably have some socks that you like. You probably have a fleece jacket that you like. You can use all of that stuff. It's will work just fine. It may not be like a hunting brand, but I've used a lot of other outdoor industry brands, from like Arc'teryx and Patagonia and Black Diamond,
North Face.
North Face. So all of those things will work. What you get when you purchase something from an outdoor brand is hunting specific things. So like the geometry of the pants, where they put the pockets will be a little different. On your jackets, a lot of times they'll move pockets to accommodate a waist pack or a waist belt for a backpack. They'll have just a few different features. A lot of times the colors will be more neutral colors, more earthy tones. They won't be as shiny on the exterior. I have a Mountain Hardwear, it's called a Ghost Whisper down jacket. It's like one of the lightest down jackets on the market. It works really well. I've used that for many years, but it's silver and it has that bright sheen to
Glossy little sheen.
Glossy sheen to it. So it's not ideal. It's fine if you're sitting on a glassing point and glassing, and then when you're done glassing or whatever, you put it in your pack and move on.
Yeah.
Not a problem. But those are some of the things you're going to look at. If you're on that much of a budget that you need budget gear and you can't afford the stuff that's on the list, you're looking at secondhand stuff. You're looking at closeouts at gear shops like REI or whatever gear shop is in town.
Campfire is a closeout shop.
Campfire.
Day to day.
You can actually, a lot of the gear that is on our list, if you watch Campfire, you have that, you sign up for their whatever daily
Alert.
email.
Yeah.
Check what they have on for that day, and a lot of the gear you'll be able to pick up on that throughout the year. So start looking now for this fall, and you probably can pick up a lot of the gear at a fraction of the price because you pick it up on closeouts on Campfire or wherever else you can find it. So if you are somebody who has got a little bit of extra money in your budget, here's how I would upgrade the system. I would start with your sleep system, mainly your sleeping bag. That's gonna, like, your sleeping bag is gonna make or break you in the backcountry. It'll be the thing that sends you back to the truck the quickest. So if you're on a budget, the King's sleeping bag will get you through. If not, upgrade to something a little bit better. I was running the Solus last couple of nights. It's by far better than that King's sleeping bag, but it's triple the price.
Yep.
So price gets you lighter weight, higher quality materials, and will keep you warmer in the backcountry. The next one after the sleeping bag, possibly a sleeping pad, although the sleeping pad I've been using is fine as long as you keep holes out of it, or go with the Climate. Like I said, I've used the Climate for the last 2 years and that one works great. And then the tent would be my third option to upgrade. And then you can start picking and piecemealing the rest of it together as far as upgrades.
Guys, so if you're in the market, we're all are in the market, right? I think to Tyler's boil it down to is get gear ahead of the season so that you can work with it, test it, vet it, and make sure it's going to work. Shop intelligently, be resourceful, and honestly, if you don't have the loot, don't complain. Save, delay that gratification, be resourceful, look for used gear, hand-me-downs, and if all else fails, take less good gear, but go get the experience in the backcountry. Mm-hmm. We've all done it. And this is Tyler's this is his lane, where he and I both grew up very poor, and we've worked our way through lots of different levels of gear, and gear doesn't get you kills, bottom line, but gear will help extend your stay in the backcountry maybe, perhaps.
For
And
sure.
it could give you a little bit more enjoyment on the experience. And you can, if you're in your 20s, man, I would suggest just trickle in the gear over the years. It'll start to add up where you have everything you need and then some.
Sure.
Over time, slowly get your gear and slowly make upgrades and just get that experience in the field. Use the discount code elk-shaped-gear at blackovis.com.
Thanks for watching to the end, folks. We got some cool gear to give away. All you got to do is subscribe to both this channel and Black Ovis's channel. Comment below where you're going to be hunting this fall, and maybe you'll be the lucky winner of some cool swag.
Separations in the preparation. We'll catch you on the next one.